Hi, someone asked me a question. Can you maybe make a video about the difference between Chassidim and modern Orthodox? I guess something that the person was thinking about because of some people have a beard, some people don't have a beard. What does it really mean? In practice, actually, the main differences seem to be that Chassidim go to mikveh every day. Chassidim keep something called Chalav Yisrael, milk that was watched in the process of it being milked by a Jew, and Pas Yisrael, bed that was at least in the part of the preparation of the bed, the Jew was involved. Um, they always had emphasis on being happy, as opposed to other emotions. They and dancing and singing, and they pray loudly. They used to pray at length. Nowadays, by the way, someone said there's no more chassidim. No more really. Chassid meant pious. It meant someone who was extra scrupulous in his connection to God, and he would go above and beyond the letter of the law. So, well, the difference seems to be at this point in terms of how people classify themselves. It has a lot to do with the garb externally. You know, if you dress with black and white and the hat and the beard, you're soon to be a chassid. If you're and the tzitzis on the outside, if you just see like a regular, American, then you're soon to be, and you're yarmulke, of course, or something, head covering. You're soon to be modern Orthodox. For me, when I was first looking at it, I had quantified it like this: that Chassidim put Judaism first, and then the secular world second. And modern Orthodox try to find a balance between the two, not necessarily putting one before the other at all times, but depending on the situation. And I anyway have a very extreme personality. When I like to try something, I like to try it completely. So I decided that Chassidim was more down my path. This was after 2 years in the modern Orthodox world. That's why I started getting involved in Chassidim, specifically Lubavitch Chassidim. And I found it very fitting for a long time. I really did. It's a beautiful way of life. It really is. Um, and then I don't know. For me, and I made reference to this. Like, I think that at this point, Lubavitch is doing everything they're supposed to be doing. I think they're doing an amazing job. And if people want to come back to Lubavitch and to the Rebbe and to the Chassidic way of life, I think they have a clear venue to do that. But only recently we started seeing the modern Orthodox response was from like Eshet Torah and Hineni, and groups like this, that they also started really, really pushing for outreach when they saw how successful the Rebbe was with it. And I think it's more practical to expect at this point, if Jews are going to come back in tshuva, it's going to be through the way of at least that first modern Orthodox, which is what happened to me as well. Because a Jew should be able to understand and should come to realize that not only is it not flipping your life upside down, it's actually putting your life exactly right. And the Shabbos and Kashrus are the two main things. Praying every day to fill in if you're a man, but keeping the Sabbath, this day and age and this technology, it's not challenging at all. And keeping kosher, if you live in like New York City, the vicinity, but even if you live near Shaliach, near an emissary of the Rebbe, it's also not difficult. He can arrange for you to get kosher food. He also brings in the kosher meat from a certain place, and he can tell you you'll find many of the products you're buying now anywhere kosher with a kosher certification. And these two things greatly enhance and enrich your life. Um, but the thing is, if people are going to be, what I found with Chabad is people come to the events and they sit and they listen and they're very intent and they love it and they walk away and they have questions and they think about it. But I think there's a cognitive dissonance there where the people realize that the person speaking has a beard and a hat and he's a certain way of life, and I'm a Jew but I'm another way of life. So they appreciate the lecture and the wisdom behind the lecture, but sometimes I think is missing this connection that, wait a minute, this should be my life. I'm so interested in these things that I also want to know the source of them, and I want to connect to that same source, to God Himself. Um, and so I think it's important to have people at least who look modern and who can talk about modern things in a way of Torah, hopefully, which is what I try to do. I apologize when I fail. Um, but yeah, so I think first, we should have like a really big push. I think so that Jews see that basically it's not a big deal to become religious. It doesn't happen overnight, but you learn little by little, and not only is the best thing that can ever happen to you, it's good for the rest of the world. It says the previous Rebbe said I think in the 40s, immediately to repentance, immediately to redemption, and you know this is what's really Rabbi Adin Steinsal's Shlita, who took position as Nasir, the leader of the generation. I read an interview. He once said, "They said, what are you waiting for? What do you hope for?" He said, "I'm just hoping for the Jews to make tshuva, and more Jews to become Orthodox," is the way he put it, I believe. And yet, I think it's important to note to people that at its very base level, it's not that big of a deal. And this is why a lot of times I found in the beginning, people thinking by modern Orthodox, at least this person specifically grew up in modern Orthodox, and her impression was that people don't make tshuva because they don't want to, and they're like mad at Hashem or whatever. And missing in this was the Lubavitch conception that everyone's a tinnik shnishba, a baby that was kidnapped at a young age and not given a proper Jewish education. And we have to reach out to them, and we have to educate them and show them it's not scary, it's not this. The thing is, with these kinds of cure movements, it's very difficult. I'll reference my friend Kvetcher again, but if it goes bad and the person thinks that they've wasted their time and their life and their energy and they've gained nothing from the experience, totally discounting the world to come, then you're gonna make some enemies and you're gonna be labeled a cult and you're gonna be labeled you're gonna be abducting different people from different walks of life, depending on who wants to slander you at the time. But it's very important because, just because we've been here for so long doesn't mean we plan on staying here forever. And it says when you get to the land of Israel, if you walk in the statutes of the non-Jews, the land will spit you out. So before the complete and true redemption, all Jews will go back to Israel, each according to our tribe, with the sons of Levi getting no portion in the land, except for the 48 Ari Miklat, cities of refuge, scattered throughout the land, where inadvertent murderers are housed, criminals who are chayiv of galus, exile. But anyway, the point is that the education starts now, and it's an ongoing thing, and you learn a little bit more every day, and eventually it cause so much satisfaction to our Father in heaven that he'll have no choice but to literally act with the world in a way of miracles, and everything will be clear, and no one will have any questions, and we'll just have answers, and there'll be world peace, and there'll be an end of economic disparity, and everything will be so much brighter. And it's only a matter of time. But the point is, if you're finding out Judaism, you want to know the difference, start with modern Orthodoxy and go from there. See what they believe, see if you can judge what you believe, and go from there. I wouldn't first jump into the way of the Chassidic life. I think it's very intense, and it's for a very special type of person, and it's not for everyone. Thank you so much, and may God bless you in everything that you do.